Good afternoon. My name is Sydney Jade Panad and I am your demonstrator for the time being. Today I'm going to tell you a short film entitled The Family That Eats Soil. But first, let us discuss who is the author of the film. He is Calvin de la Cruz. He was born on December 23, 1973 in Quezon City. He is a Filipino poet, singer, songwriter, pianist, and a filmmaker. He is the founder and festival director of MOV International Film, Music, and Literature Festival. He is also considered the father of Philippine digital filmmaking, and he has made 47 features and 112 short films since 1994. So that is the background of the author. Now let's find out who are the characters in the film. So the first character was called Baby. He is the youngest child, symbolizing innocence ruined by the family's violent and bizarre life. Despite being a baby, he has odd adventures and is tragically eaten on his first birthday, showing the family's deep depravity. Second is the mother, a hard-working, submissive woman who sacrifices herself for the family. Despite being intelligent and accomplished, she is treated as a servant by father. She represents suffering and self-sacrifice, yet remains part of the family's dysfunction. The third is father, the controlling head of the family who conducts disturbing experiments like making plants grow from people. He symbolizes greed and oppressive authority in the family. Next is the brother, a violent, troubled man involved in crime. He is haunted by guilt over his friend Esther's death and struggles with his past. Lastly is the sister, a young woman who feels isolated and degraded. She has transactional relationships and struggles with feelings of purposelessness, which make her uninterested in family life. So the settings of the film is the main setting is the family's house, which is chaotic and strange, representing their dysfunctional life. Other places where the film was set is in the sub is in the suburban streets and alleys, which show a rundown, decaying city. Trauma hospital, where father works with bottles of dextrose, showing how he exploits public systems. Next is the wet market, where mother works, highlighting the hard, degrading work she does. In the cockpit, where baby is mistaken for Christ, adding a satirical touch. Now let's move on to the plot of the story. So, in the beginning, the story introduces a family, a strange family, the father, mother, brother, sister, and baby, who literally eat soil to survive. Each family member has bizarre traits and behaviors. The father is bossy and obsessed with strange experiments. The mother is miserable and treated like a servant. The brother is a criminal haunted by guilt. The sister feels isolated and uses relationships for survival, while baby is curious and always running away. Their world is chaotic, dark, and filled with violence and absurdity. So the story set up a bizarre family who survive by eating soil. Each member is strange and deeply flawed, and the grim, chaotic world they live in reflects their dysfunction. The rising action occurs when the family problem grows worse. Father controls everything and forces his harmful ideas on the family. The mother suffers in silence and sacrifices herself. The brother struggles with his bad choices and the guilt of losing a friend. The sister feels more alone and trapped. making desperate decisions, while Baby creates chaos but also seems to symbolize innocence. So the dysfunction in their lives keeps escalating and they seem unable to change or connect with one another. The family's issues intensify. Father controls everyone, mother suffers, brother feels guilt about his past, sister becomes more isolated, and baby's constant escapes add chaos. Their inability to cope or connect builds tension. The climax is when, during baby's first birthday, the family decides to stop eating soil for the day. However, in a shocking twist, they discover that baby has been served as the meal. This horrifying moment shows how far the family has descended into madness and moral collapse. So, at baby's birthday, the family breaks their tradition of eating soil. The shocking twist comes when baby is revealed as the meal, symbolizing their complete moral breakdown. So, the following action, the family reacts in their own strange ways. The father keeps obsessing over his experiments, while the mother buries herself in her work to avoid feeling anything. Brother feels guilty and haunted by his past. The sister becomes even more hopeless and lost. Their lives spiral further into absurdity and despair. The family reacts in detached and grotesque ways, sinking further into despair. No one changes or takes responsibility, showing their hopelessness and inability to escape their destructive lives. So, the ending, there is no real ending or resolution because the family's dysfunction continues in a never ending cycle. The story ends on a bleak and unsettling note, showing how trapped and broken they are. It's a dark, surreal critique of a family life, society, and human nature. So, only a sense of futility, the family remains trapped in their dysfunctional cycle, highlighting the story's dark critique of family and human nature. Now, let us discuss the themes in the story. First is family dysfunction. The family is completely broken. There's no love or understanding. Everyone suffers alone, and neglect and abuse have destroyed their relationships. Next is absurdity of life because the story shows how life can be strange and chaotic. From eating soil to bizarre behaviors, the characters live in a world where nothing makes sense, highlighting life's irrational side. Third is the humanization and exploitation. The characters are treated like objects instead of people. The father controls mother and sisters used by others. This shows how families and societies can exploit people for their own benefit. Fourth is survival and desperation because eating soil symbolizes how desperate the family is to survive. Their extreme actions reflect what people might do when pushed to the edge. Fifth is violence and moral collapse because violence is everywhere in this story, physical, emotional, and societal. It shows how the family and their world have lost all senses of morality and humanity. Sixth is isolation and loneliness because each family member is stuck in their own pain, unable to connect with others. This highlights how broken relationships can lead to deep loneliness. Lastly is satire and social critic because the story uses dark humor and absurdity to criticize society, its rules, hierarchies, and institutions like family and religion. It exposes hypocrisy and the darker sides of human behavior. Now let us discuss the conflict of the story. First is man versus man because the family members constantly fight with each other. Father's abusive and controlling, causing tension with mother and the children. Brother's violence and sister's isolation also add to the family's dysfunction. Third is man versus himself because each family member struggles with their own emotions. Mother hides her misery and sacrifices herself. Brother feels guilty and haunted by past trauma. The sister feels worthless and lost. These inner conflicts show how they're unable to deal with their pain. Lastly is man versus society because the family lives in a strange, broken world where they cannot fit in. Father's experiments, brother's crimes, and sister's suffering reflect how they've rejected or failed to meet society's expectations. Their harsh environment of poverty and corruption adds to their struggles. So that is the conflict of the story. Next is let us discuss the lesson of the story. So, the lesson from the family that is soil is that families need love, understanding, and respect to avoid falling apart. Because when a family ignore problems, hurt each other, or fail to communicate, it leads to pain and chaos. So, the story also shows that everyone should take responsibility for their actions and work to fix problems instead of following harmful habits or traditions. The story teaches us that families need love, respect, and communication to stay healthy. Neglect and harmful actions lead to pain and dysfunction, so everyone must take responsibility to break harmful cycles and create a better environment. That is all, and thank you for listening.